Hi everyone, welcome back to a new Goal Bezan podcast. I'm Ario Alaverdi. I'm joined by Sina Saimian. Today we're also joined by Mina, who is also a Team LE supporter, and she's come on to share her opinions on the two matches. And we're going to speak about women in Iran being allowed to go to the match against Cambodia and Tehran. How are we doing, guys? Sina, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, Aria. Good to speak to you, and of course Mina as well. It's been a while since I've been on, so let's get going.
Mina, how are you?
Hello everybody. This is my first time. I'm very happy to join the pod and give some opinions.
Fantastic. Okay, the squad was announced a couple of weeks ago, and we were a couple of surprises in the squad, particularly with the exclusion of Jahan Bash. Of course, somebody who's been in part of the squads for many, many years, hasn't really ever been dropped, but obviously he hasn't been playing for Brighton, and the other player who's not really been involved in the last couple of squads is Atollahi, but hasn't also been playing much for his club in Belgium. So, Sina, what do you think? Is that a good message that he sent out to the players, that players need to be playing, or is that maybe a wrong decision to make?
No, I think it's. I think he probably looked at the fixtures and he thought Bahrain, Cambodia probably guaranteed 6 points. Maybe a bit of complacency in there, and he obviously knows the situation with Jahan Bakhsh at Brighton. He's not been getting much game time, but of course he's been injured for a while as well. Again, same scenario with Izzatullah. So I think he probably had a conversation with both of them and gave them the international break off, in terms of they can go and train with the team to get that match fitness back up again, and give the coaching staff of their respective clubs a chance to kind of watch them closely in training and work with them, especially with Jahan Bakhsh. I think it's just a matter of him staying fit and training as hard as he can. He will get his chance in the Premier League. So I wasn't that disappointed with Jahan Bakhsh not being involved, and of course it gave the opportunity to players like Mohammad Mohebbi and Mehrdad Mohammadi as well, who came in and did particularly well.
Mina, we saw a lot of Sepahan players getting called up into this squad. So we've had Niaz Mand, Mortaza Mansouri, Mohammad Mohebbi, as Sina said. I think we also had, if I'm not mistaken,
Noor Afghan as well.
He came in later on in the squad. So, what do you think about that? Is that something that's, because obviously Sepahan are unbeaten in the league. They're first in the league, joint with Tiraktor. Is that a good thing?
Well, there was actually a lot of talk on the social media about this, and a lot of people are speculating why there was so many Sepahan players being called up. And some people say it's because Galenoi, they call him the boss of mafia in Iran, and they said that he pushed for these many players to be included in the squad so he could postpone the game that they had, I think, with Esteghlal, because then if they had this many players on the squad, so then they could not play and they could postpone their game. So that's actually the opinion of a lot of people on social media, that they think this is kind of like that some people actually have this power in Iran to push players into the squad, and Mark Wilmots is kind of okay with it. So I don't know, it's kind of a controversial.
But are we suggesting that players like Mohebbi and Niazman shouldn't have been called up?
No, I think Niazman for sure should be called up. Niazman, then together with Mazari, I think those are the ones who have had like clean sheets for like the most run of clean sheets in the league so far. And for sure Niazman should be called up. Mohebbi, different opinions for him on the game with Cambodia than on the game with Bahrain. So I can't really give, but I was very, very excited to see him play, especially since he was playing in League One until a while ago. So he's a very kind of like a talent that we at least did not know about so much. But someone like Omid Noor Afghan, who is the captain of the Omid team, but he was not really in a form, like his form wasn't consistently good enough. to be called up. Honestly, I would think that he's maybe, or like Mansouri, I'm not sure about him either. So definitely not these many players.
Mansouri, I don't really understand his. I mean, he's probably had a good. I mean, he's made some assists. I think he got an assist in his last game for Sepon, and yeah, he's had a good season. But I don't think it's really the time and place to call up a right back. When he's 29 years old, he's just had a good season in the league of Iran. I think when you've got a guy like Sadegh Moharrami who's playing regular football now, and he's injury free in Croatia, I think that it's a bit strange that he wasn't called up. But and honestly, I wasn't really impressed with Ramin Rezaeian in these last couple of games. So I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Sadegh Moharrami come in the next squad. Okay, so the match against Cambodia happened, and we won the game 14-0, which is really, really cool. But we had players like Osmoon and Ansari Fard scoring a hat-trick. We had Taremi scoring a brace. We also had Mohabi having a brace as well. So, I mean, in terms of, for confidence, you could say it was good. But if you look at the contrast of the level of performance against Bahrain, I don't think that the Cambodia game really gave the players any kind of confidence anyway. I don't think they took it seriously, because it wasn't. I think they could have scored more goals. I think they could have scored 25 goals if they wanted to. So for me, it wasn't as if they were taking it seriously anyway. So that game for me is pretty redundant. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think when you do play against teams like Cambodia, I mean, you can't really say he doesn't take it seriously, because he started all the players that went on to start against Bahrain, which was a relatively.
I'm saying game. I think the players themselves didn't take it that seriously.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think after probably by the fifth and sixth goal, they would have thought, actually, let's just see how many goals we can score. And the substitutions, even he made very early substitutions, because he knew the game was done. Again, it was guaranteed 3 points. It's good to see Ansari Fard getting so many goals, although he missed a lot of chances as well in the game. Obviously, always good to see Osman score, and Mohabi as well to get his debut goal. I mean, there's not really much to say. These kind of games wouldn't really dictate whether or not we will end up qualifying for the World Cup in 2 years. And it wouldn't really tell Wilmots much in terms of how good his team is, or how good tactically the team have become, or even much about the players. Even players like Mohabi, who again did really well. I mean, how much can you take away from a performance against players who probably wouldn't even play semi-professional in Iran? So it's difficult to judge, but again, you got to beat what's in front of you, and they did a good job with the 14 goals. And again, for the spectators who were at the stadium, I'm sure they didn't complain about seeing so many goals.
Mina, have you got anything to add to that?
I think you're right. For sure, Cambodia wasn't a game that we go in thinking about if we're going to lose or win. But I think the importance wasn't the game itself, but what was on the motivational level, because this was the first home game in the campaign for qualifying for the World Cup, and the women being there. So it was kind of nice to score that many goals, to start strong, to build some motivation. I think on that level, it was kind of an important game.
So, I mean, you just touched on that very quickly there, but obviously, last podcast we were discussing about the issue that happened with the Sahar Khodayari, who actually ended up burning herself as a result of going to an SLL game and getting a 6-month prison sentence. And then obviously the FIFA and the international governing body of obviously football and governing body of Iran, they reacted and they allowed women to go to the game against Cambodia. So, Mina, I mean, obviously, I think you said you knew some people who went to the game. What kind of reaction have you heard from that?
Well, it was kind of an overwhelming day, to be honest. I mean, I'm an Iranian woman. I was born and raised in Iran. And this was not a new fight. We had this going on for many, many years. Many politicians have spoken about it. Even Ahmadinejad started to try really do this as a campaign strategy. And each time it was stopped by mostly religious figures and some people in government being against it. But so many times it felt like it's going to happen. Even some games, some people, like some selective individuals were let in to watch the games. And so many times we thought that this is actually happening. But I think at some point when there was already women attending volleyball, volleyball games, international volleyball games, and then they banned that. So they banned women from entering that. Then we kind of lost all hopes and we thought this is never going to happen. So when they started again talking about that this is going to happen, and FIFA started to give ultimatums to Iranian authorities that women should be let in for World Cup qualification games, we actually thought that this is probably not going to go anywhere either. But then this happened, this very sad incident of Sar Khodayari happened, and it became kind of an emotional roar. And I think there was then it got a lot of media attention all of a sudden, together with what the pressure that FIFA already had on the Football Federation. I think it all summed up, and it happened that they let women in to the stadium. So, but when it actually happened, even if it was in the making for so many years, still we couldn't believe it. It was like, is this really happening? Even the night before, a lot of people were writing that we don't know if this is actually going to happen. We have our tickets in our hand, but is this actually a ticket that can get us into Azadiya Stadium? And so on the day that it happened, everybody was treating it as something out of this world, and they're putting pictures and writing about their experiences. I actually get emotional when talking about it now, because I'm a football fan. I'm a huge Team Melli fan. And I have passed by that stadium so many times, and I never even thought of getting in. It was a dream that far away. And then people were writing about the moment that they actually get inside and they see the green of the pitch, and they are sitting. They were showing so many of people who were there, and it was really, really overwhelmingly emotional for me, because at the same time that I was very happy that this is finally happening, but I had such a grudge, such a sad feeling that I've missed all of these years. I mean, I'm old enough to see Ali Dai plays for Team Melli in Azadi, but I never did. And I feel like that was robbed from me, and it was kind of like bittersweet moments. Yeah, but it was very, very nice. I saw many pictures. I saw many young children being together with their mothers there, getting dressed in Team Melli kits or with a flag. But it was even more emotional actually to see older women, like maybe in their 50s or 60s, with the flag waving, and then you would see them and you would think, oh my God, they actually lost this whole 40 years to this stupid ban. And these women, they actually loved Team Melli, and for 40 years they just looked at the TV and asked why. So yeah, very, very emotional.
Wow. It's it's a really, really, really good thing that's happened, and hopefully it continues to happen. Hopefully it's something that it's not just this one time. It's something that's going to continue to happen, and hopefully over time, we're not having women just sitting in one section. It's step by step. It's a good step. It's a step forward, but I think more steps have to be taken. I think more measures need to be taken. Hopefully one day can we get women to enter league matches, not just national team matches, league matches or whatever, because this, like you said, this ban is pretty ridiculous. If I'm honest, we all live in foreign countries, and we can all go to matches with women with children, etc. And there's no problems, but there's that problem in Iran, and hopefully it resolves. Sina, we didn't really get your opinion on the Sarah Khodayari situation, because obviously you weren't on the podcast. I mean, as I was saying, I think from your tweets as well, we're speaking about how somebody had to actually die in order for FIFA to even act upon it. So what's your reaction, Sina?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, everything that Mina said was so beautiful, and I agree with everything she said. I grew up in a family, in a football-obsessed family, and that included my mother as well. We grew up watching Esteghlal, and she was always watching every game with us. So this kind of, when we talk about women being allowed into stadiums, yes, it's a right, but the popularity of football is also huge amongst women. And I think if the ticket sales were free and open as they should have been, and as the FA promised FIFA it would be, I don't have any doubts that at least 20 to 30,000 women would have been in the stadium watching that Cambodia game. But again, I don't want to put the negatives too much. As you said, progress. It's good to see them getting that right that they deserve, but of course they deserve much more. And it's Mina said that fight has been going on for so long, and she's absolutely right. But I think this is the start of the journey. I think now that there's been an opportunity to have them into the stadiums and watching the games, the real fight now is to kind of make that consistency and slowly grow it even further and further. And as you said earlier, into the league games, which I don't think are going to happen. Definitely not this year, and I doubt it will happen in the next 18 to 24 months. But that's got to be the aim. That's got to be the goal. And I know Mina is a huge Persepolis fan, so I'm sure she would want to watch some of the league games as well, as do all women across the country. So again, that right to watch the games in leagues as well is huge, and it needs to happen. In regards to Sahar, I mean, you said it's a tragedy. It's not really an opinion to give; it's a fact, and the fact that FIFA did wait for so long for them to act is embarrassing. It's actually shameful on their behalf. They can't take the credit for this. Neither can the Iranian sports ministry or the FA, which they have come out and they have actually said, well, we were going to let this happen, so it's not because of FIFA's pressure, which is absolutely nonsense as well. So they need to take more responsibility, FIFA does. They need to keep this pressure going and not wait for another tragedy to happen or wait for another incident to increase that pressure. This pressure needs to be consistent. Because otherwise we will go back to how things were 2 or 3 years ago. So again, great to see the fans in Azadi Stadium for the Cambodia game. You could see how much the players really enjoyed it as well. Masoud Shajai, as a captain, he's been so vocal about it, and I'm sure he was happy to see that some of the points that he's been raising over the years, finally, he's seen some results for them. So again, fingers crossed that it continues in the long term as well.
Yeah, you're right. It was great to see the players celebrating in that direction where the women were sitting in the stadium. It was a really, really good gesture. So yeah, Bahrain. We played Bahrain a few days ago. Game ended 1-0 to Bahrain. It was away from home. Not a good result at all. Really bad performance as well. If I can say so myself, I think the lineup that we had out was pretty much similar to the Cambodia game, bar a few changes. I think Majid Hosseini came in for Purali Ganji, and Omid Ibrahimi came in for Ahmad Nurullahi in the midfield. So not much of a different lineup. Same kind of players. It's quite obvious that he's playing a kind of a 4-4-2 formation. He's starting Taremi and Mohebi as the wingers, and then having Ansari Fardan and Osman up front. The goal that happened was obviously a a foul from Majid Hosseini in the box, which ended up being a penalty, and then they scored it. So it wasn't as if they scored from open play, but we still defended pretty badly. It wasn't as if we defended good anyway. We could have conceded goals. We didn't really attack well either. We didn't really create chances. And even when we did create chances, we weren't taking chances. We weren't really taking them. If I'm honest, I'm not really much of a critic of him, but Osman's performance was, in my opinion, tough to watch. I think Mina will explain, but the players looked very, very tired. They looked exhausted. Maybe it was the heat, but the players were absolutely jaded in that game. And then when players like Majid Hosseini, who's done so well this season for Trabzonspor, make silly mistakes. But I think it makes silly mistakes, but the whole team looked terrible. In that phase of play where the striker comes past Ramin Rezaian, he goes past Kanani, he goes past Majid Hosseini, and then Majid Hosseini makes a late challenge and then he gets a penalty. And it's pretty bad how he can go past three players and then get fouled in the box. So yeah, it's just one of those things that we switched off so many times in this game. Ehsan Hoysafi had a horrible game. And yeah, let's get some of your opinions on it. Mina, what do you think of the level of performance from the national team captain he's got so-called 110 caps, but he just didn't show any leadership qualities at all, Osman, etc.
Yeah, so actually, I'm gonna just say it. I don't think Hoysafi should be captain anymore. And I'm not just saying it based on this game. He has shown that he's the first person on the pitch when something happens, that he jumps on the referee. He starts the fight. He's never the person who breaks out the fights on the pitch. He gets everybody so nervous and angry on the pitch. And I'm talking about the 3 last games that we actually, with Tim Melly, we have, the players got so angry that they actually gave away a penalty and we lost. And the 3 of them, Hoysafi was actually the captain on the pitch. Was the game against Portugal, the game against Japan, and the game against Bahrain. And he's always the person that he did the foul, which is very, very obvious. He actually did 2 before, and he should have gotten a yellow card for it, actually. And maybe he should have gotten even 2 yellow cards for it. Yeah.
I think in the Bahrain goal, I think just before the goal happened, he made a foul.
Exactly. He did that, and he should have gotten a yellow card, and he went to the referee and started the fight. And they started, and then Majid Hosseini gave away a penalty, which I think you're a bit too kind to him sometimes, Arya. I know you're very fond of him, but his mistakes are not silly if it makes us actually not qualify for the World Cup. I can't even say that. It makes me scared. But these are huge mistakes, and they should not happen, especially in a game that we were quite bad and we didn't have any good chances to score either. So actually, I was very, very angry at Hoysafi the most, I think. Mohebi performance for me in this game, I was like, okay, this kid is just from League One in Iran. He was pressing very badly, not in a professional way. I kind of was shocked actually to see how he's pressing when the ball is lost. And then Sardar, I think what I saw from him, and this is actually based on something that he said one time on Navat with Ferdowsipur, that he said that he used to have breathing problem that would make him not get enough oxygen, and he was getting muscle spasms and he had problems. And then in this game, I think on minute 15 to 20 or something like that, I saw him actually bending over, holding his knees, kind of having a hard time breathing. He was also the most wet. This new brand of the clothing that Tim Melly uses is quite rubbish. It's completely wet in that humid weather, and Sardar just looked like he's struggling for breathing in that kind of humidity, actually. But yeah, so I was very, very unhappy with the game. I don't think I liked even one thing. Like zero positive from me, actually.
I think the only positive that we can take is the subs that happened. I think
Oh
when
yeah, Ahmad Nurullah, I think.
I
That
think when he
only,
came on,
oh, how could I forget captain of Persepolis? Of course, yeah.
I think when he came on, he did change the game. And obviously, I think that, without saying, I think for me, Taremi had a pretty good game. He did try. He did create chance. I think he did, make some things happen. But I really didn't see much from Ansari Far at all. Really, really poor game from him. Somebody, he scored 4 goals against Cambodia, and he looked like he never scored a goal in his life. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was horrible to watch.
To be honest, Arya, even if he did the poker against Cambodia, in the beginning of the game, he looked not great. He did not look like, I was watching him and I was like, okay, Ansari Fard is not in a good form. And then he scored four goals, and that's very good. But again, in this game, we saw him and he wasn't actually to the standard of a player who would start.
Yeah, I think Sina will kind of go a little bit more, because I know you've got a lot to say about this, Sina. But Sina, what actually went wrong? Do you know, like, what actually went wrong in this game?
Look, I think first what you have to think about, and I don't know, Arya, if you're old enough to remember this, I think Mina definitely does, is that the games against Bahrain are always important, always difficult, and they should never be underestimated, because there's a lot more than just the football. Now, I think there was an element of complacency, not just before this game and after the Cambodia game. I think before the international break as a whole. I think, as I mentioned it earlier as well, I think with the squad selection, I think Wilmot and his coaching staff would have thought this is a straightforward 6 points from 2 games. We'll hardly break a sweat, which obviously isn't the case now. Considering how the game went, I think a lot of the decisions they made should be questioned. Now, let's talk about the lineup. So, first of all, I completely disagree with playing 4-4-2 as a whole, regardless of who the opposition is. Now, when you want to go and play against a team, and again, away from home, against a team who will sit back and they will try to hit you on the counter, so you don't play with 2 strikers, you play with 3 midfielders, because you want to control the game. So that extra man in midfield will help you, not just going forward, but on the counters as well. When you put too many players forward, they get lost. How are you going to get the ball to them? And I think he started with his plan B, which was incorrect. The subs he made, as you said, changed the game. Why? Because he brought in 3 midfielders. He brought in Nurullahi, which I like. I really like him as a midfielder. I think he should feature more going forward as well. He brought on Bahid Amiri, a winger, again, another winger in Mehrdad Mohammadi as well. Now, mentality-wise, I'm not going to go into it. You've covered it. We all know it. They love to argue. There was a moment in the injury time. We had a free kick. The free kick went into the Bahrain box. The ball is loose. It could be picked up by anyone, and all it takes is one deflection for the ball to go in. But where are our players? There's 5 of them arguing with the referee that the Bahraini player handballed it. Now, that says it all. In regards to the goal, as you said, Haj Safi made 2 mistakes. So his first mistake was the foul, then he got yellow, and then once they put that ball in, if you go and watch the game, it's one of the worst touches I've ever seen from a Team Melli player. He tries to control the ball almost on the halfway line. The ball, his touch is so bad, the ball goes to the right-hand side of the Bahraini midfield, and they cross the ball in. And then Hosseini gives that penalty with the clumsy challenge. Haj Safi was terrible in that game.
I never saw that touch, actually. It's a good show.
He was terrible, as were the rest of the team. But now, there has been a lot of criticism towards Wilmots. A lot of people coming out and saying, are we going to qualify for the World Cup? It's too early. Let's take a step back. We're not going to win every single qualification match. Now, of course, the loss isn't ideal. The performance was definitely not great, but it's still early days. If we end up losing to Iraq in the next game, then yes, I would actually be worried to say, are we going to qualify for the next round as easily as we think? But based on one loss, I wouldn't worry about it too much. As I said earlier as well, and again, I've been vocal about not being a fan of Bill Motts for as long as I can remember. But he's got the job, and I said it when he got the job as well, that if you want to judge him fairly, then you have to give him 12 to 18 months. And only once the next stage of the World Cup qualification starts, that's when we can see what he's made of. Not right now. With players like Mohebbi coming in, you criticize Mortaza Mansouri, and I kind of agree with it. But again, he's trying to bring in new players. He's trying to see, new formations, new tactics to see how things will work. I don't like him as a manager. I don't agree with a lot of his ideas. As I said, I don't agree with the 4-4-2 thing that seems to be now consistent, judging by the last few games. But again, it's unfair to try and say, oh, we should definitely be worried now, or let's sack him now. It's too early. Let's give it until next year. Again, if we lose against Iraq in November, I'd be worried. But let's go back to the early days of Queiroz as well. He ended up losing to Lebanon in the final round of qualification in a game that everyone thought, right, this is it now. We've never lost to Lebanon. We lost 1-0 and everyone thought, oh, we're not going to qualify for the 2014 World Cup. And he managed to pull us through it. We won against, I think, Qatar, and then that massive, massive win over South Korea away from home. So it's not like we've not been in this situation before. Again, it's not ideal, but it's too early to press the panic button. We'll just have to wait and see how things develop.
I'm just going to throw out two names because I feel like these players are kind of players who've kind of maybe been a bit neglected in the system. I think they haven't really been considered. I think obviously it's quite understandable why, but I feel like they've been neglected for maybe, yes, they were injured, but I'm going to talk about Qorizadeh and Kavarizai, two guys who are playing in Belgium, and they actually have been playing. If you watch Charleroi play, they actually have been playing recently, and they've been scoring goals and making assists. But I don't understand how you can not call. And I get what you're saying, Sina. You're saying, yeah, he's trying to, bring in new players, he's trying to get a system, but you have to call up your best players if they're available. I mean, you can't just call, Nuraf Khan when you've got a player like, for example, Izzatullahi, who at least is playing to some extent, he's getting subbed in. I don't get how you can just call it Nuraf Khan. I just don't get it. For me, it doesn't make any sense.
Just for the record, I think even with the plays that he did have, he should have at least got a point from the game. Now,
yeah,
if we're talking that the issues are collectively, not individually, which I think is a collective issue there. I mean, we talked about the individual mistakes, but I think the collective idea is incorrect to begin with. Then even if you put the best players in there, they still wouldn't be able to perform. Izzatullahi, I'm not sure if he would perform in a 4-4-2 because he doesn't really have the mobility to play in a two-man midfield. Ibrahimi does, so does Hoysafi.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would like to see Izzatullahi as the base player, the deepest midfielder, and then probably Nuraf Khan, Nuraf Khan, sorry, Nurullahi, as kind of like a box-to-box player. I feel like in that position, I think he would do really, really well. I think he would do more than what Hoysafi and Ibrahimi have done. I think he's more dynamic than them. And actually, it's one player that I think we need to get back as soon as possible if we can. Obviously suspended, but Salman Ghoddos needs to come back. He's a difference maker in my opinion. I think Dejaga got injured just before the Cambodia game, but we really need to get a number 10, a playmaker, someone who links the midfield to the attack. There was no link. You were saying, Sina, there was no. How are we going to get the ball to the strikers if we don't have a player who can link the play? We literally had Hoysafi and Ibrahimi playing in midfield with a striker on the left wing and a 20-year-old on the right wing. We didn't have that kind of in-between player. in between the lines, and it doesn't help. You can't play a 4-4-2 when you've got players who aren't suited to that kind of system. So yeah, I don't see how that works. Other than that, Mina, have you got anything else to add in terms of where we go from here?
Sina is absolutely right about this game being actually more than just a football game and being quite tough, and there is so much political pressure as well due to what has happened in past in these kind of games. And actually, when you look at the statistics from the game, they had exactly the same number of shots that we had. Actually, they had 3 shots like within the goal when we had the same, but they got a penalty and they scored, and it was kind of a lucky win for Bahrain. I'm not actually sure that they were a better side than Iran was. They have quite a young squad, and of course the way that they are playing for the team they are, and their ranking is quite impressive. Whereas our style of play and what we showed on the pitch, being the number 1 in Asia, is not impressive at all. But at the end of the day, I did not think that they were the better team. I think they got a lucky win. And I'm also agreeing with Sina that maybe we get all too pessimistic when we lose one game. We are like, okay, that's it. The World Cup's gone. It's going to be next to us in Qatar, and we can never go to it. But at the same time, we also have Iraq, which is a tough team to win, and it just made the pressure on a game that is already hard more. So it's very unpleasant. Actually, it's not a good, it's not a comfortable feeling for us, because the last 2 World Cups seemed like we just opened the door and there it was. We did not have this kind of stress at these early stages of qualification.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a new game coming up against Iraq on the 14th of November. That'll be in Iraq, away from home.
Hi, this is Kat, and you're listening to Bezan, and I hope you continue listening to their amazing podcast. Thank you all for the support. Love you, Bezan.
So what do you guys think about the system that Wilmot is playing, and how he wants to hold up to his comments in media about attacking football? Do you think there's any relation between this? And is there something that he wants to prove?
I think certainly there's the pressure from the supporters, that some maybe uneducated supporters previously who were speaking about Queiroz being a very defensive coach and rigid tactics and not we aren't very not scoring a lot of goals, etc. But if you look back at the way Queiroz looked at the team, he looked at what our strengths are. What is the strengths of this team, and how do we play towards those strengths, and how do we make those strengths work against the opponent that we're facing? So in the World Cup, for example, against Spain, we're going to play defensively. That's the way it is. And Queiroz didn't care. He did not care what anyone said. And that is why I think the educated supporters were more respectful of him. The ones who weren't as educated, maybe from that footballing standpoint, again, I think they struggled to understand that. And when what Wilmots is doing, he's trying to use a bit of psychology, and maybe not, but I think it is what's happening. And I think that he wants to sort of show that Iran does have that attacking intent to score goals, but it doesn't work. You have to understand what the players need and what kind of players you have at your disposal and what kind of system works for them. You can't just say I want to play attacking football. You know what I mean? It doesn't work. You have to actually have a way of playing that works for those players. So we'll see what happens in the future, but I think he has to go back in the drawing board and really look at a system, but and fix what he's got. He's got good players, but his system's not going to work against bigger teams.
I'll go back to Mina in one of the points she made earlier about Mohebbi and the way he was pressing, which she said it wasn't in the right way, if I remember correctly, Mina. He said he was just pressing,
Yeah,
like
I
a
said he
headless chicken.
presses like that he plays in League One and not the
Exactly.
Persian Gulf League.
Exactly. Now, let's hold that thought for a second. So, in terms of what Wilmots has said, he's always said, I'm an attacking coach, and he is. Okay, but there's a difference between saying I'm an attacking coach and your team actually playing like they're attacking. Now, you can't say you can't be an attacking team without thinking of the defensive side. Now, going back to the pressing point, this team does not press like they should, and it goes back to Wilmot. So it's all good and well saying I want to play attacking, I want to score, but it goes back to how are you going to do it? In football, the main questions are, it's not about do you want to defend or do you want to attack? It's about how are you going to do it? What system? What formation? How are you going to press? How are you going to sit? When are you going to press? What areas of the pitch are you going to protect? Now, with the way that we press, at the moment, it is like headless chicken. Because pressing isn't just about, for example, Osman pressing the defender who's got the ball. That's part of it. But in order for that pressing to be successful, Ansari Fard, Mohebbi, Taremi will have to press at the same time to the players who that defender could pass to. The whole idea of pressing is to limit the options for the team on the ball so that you could win the ball early. Now, we don't do that at the moment, and it doesn't seem like it's going to change. So the whole pressing idea isn't going to work. And secondly, a lot of people might disagree, but the fact is, Iranian players tactically aren't great. Because of the upbringing they have in Iran, tactical side of it isn't so good. Again, Mina watches the league, you watch the league, Arya. How many teams do you actually see that press on a game-to-game basis? Almost next to none. So you can't suddenly pick these players out, bring them in, and then suddenly turn around and say, go and press. No. The players will have to make decisions on the pitch, and if they don't understand the concept of what you're trying to do, they wouldn't be able to make the right decisions. So it's all good and well saying to the player, go and press. Fair enough, he gets it. But when it comes to the actual game and when he's in certain situations where he has to make individual decisions, if he doesn't understand what you need from him, he wouldn't be able to make the correct decisions. And that's the problem with Moss at the moment. He's not getting across to the team what he wants. I don't think he's 100% sure what he wants from the team. And again, you can see it on the pitch. There's a lot of chaos. Again, going back to the way we attack, we've got two strikers up front. How are you going to get the ball to them? Arya, you mentioned it earlier, and I agree. When you're playing against a really defensive team, it's all about making the ball do the work. Move the ball around, you create gaps, and then suddenly you can exploit the space that's been created. We're not doing that at the moment. In that game, all we did was, let's get the ball out to Rezayan and Mohammadi, and let's cross the ball in. You might have got a lucky deflection and scored the goal, but again, it's not coming from a real idea that this is how we're going to score goals, this is how we're going to create chances. It was more or less, I can't remember who said it on Twitter, someone said we're going back to the 2010 days where all we're doing is long balls over and hope for an individual mistake before we can score a goal. And it does feel like it. Now, again, going back to what I said earlier, that things could change between now and next year, but things could also get worse. So at the moment, all we can do is wait and hope that things can only get better from here, performance-wise. And of course, when you perform better, then results will slowly come in as well.
Absolutely.
But Sina, do you agree with Arya saying that only the uneducated fans they are in favor of like Wilmot saying that I want to play attacking football? Because I had a very real Team Melli fans saying actually on Twitter that if we were playing with Kairos, we would never score 14 goals against Cambodia, but we also probably wouldn't lose to Bahrain either. So there are a lot of people that are actually fan of.
But point being is Queiroz, he played to the strengths of the players. Like, I mean, yes, you might be right. He might not have scored 14 goals against Cambodia, but does he want to score 14 goals against Cambodia? Probably not.
Yeah, people would love that. People would live for these iconic games that they said, oh, you remember in Azadi we scored 14 against Cambodia. You know, people like Maldives because we scored these many goals to them.
And
you know,
they do, absolutely.
Yeah,
but
I know nothing about Guam rather than we scored 19 goals against them. Nothing else about Guam.
But like I say, point being is Queiroz didn't care about that. That's the thing. He didn't play to the fans' taste. If he didn't care about that, I think that's what a coach should not be pressured into playing the way we want to see the team play, because it's not going to work. It's just not going to happen.
So this is actually my point, which I think Wilmots does play on these aspects of getting into this media game, because he has been saying, I think he has had like 4 interviews, and in every single one of them he talked about attacking football, that I like to play attacking football, and then we go to Bahrain and we have 3 good shots and none of them goes in. And then of course he's going to receive a lot of criticism from the media, that why you said that. And it's going to start this whole fiasco again. And this actually makes me worried.
I think
Go on, Sina,
you are right. So the thing with Queiroz was, again, I disagree with you, Audie, in what you said about being uneducated. I think that, I mean, we all have preferences in how we want our teams to play, whether it's the club that we support or the national team. Now, if you want your national team to be attacking, I get that. I think I understand their point of view. I think when you go up against teams like, for example, in the Asian Cup, 2015 Asian Cup, we actually did play against Bahrain, UAE and Qatar, who were 3 games that we were expected to win, but we didn't play attacking. And I think the general expectancy of the fans is that when we go up against these teams, we need to be the superior team. And again, I get that ideology. They're not necessarily saying we need to go and play attacking football against Argentina and Spain. Some may even do, but that wouldn't make sense. But I think against Asian teams, it does. And I've always I get the idea that we need to be superior. Queiroz's idea of superiority was we're going to control the game, but without having the ball. We're going to control what you do with the ball, which is nothing. And then we're going to capitalize on the limited chances that we get. You're right. Each coach has his own ideology and how they want to play. But at the same time, when you're the manager of a national team, you also have to be a bit of a diplomat. Now, at the moment, there is a lot of polarization going on in the Iranian media, that you're either for Queiroz, against Queiroz, or for Wilmots or against him, etc. No, you can criticize both equally, because it's all about getting the right balance. Yes, you want to score 14 goals against Cambodia. You do. Who wouldn't want their team to score 10 plus goals? We all do. But at the same time, you want to go against these teams in tough places and get results. So there's got to be a balance between the two. You've got to create a team where they can go to tough places like Bahrain and keep a clean sheet and end up winning the game. And then when you play at home against teams like Cambodia, you can go out and you can express yourself. You can score as many goals as you want. So it's all about getting the right balance, as it is in everything else in life. You can't be one extreme or the other. Being too defensive isn't too great in games that we shouldn't be, and also being too offensive and too attacking in games that is almost naive to go into these games. And I think that's the right word to use against Bahrain. I think we were naive and they were smart. They were smarter than us. Mina said they didn't deserve to win the game, or they weren't better than us, and I'm not disagreeing with that, but I think they won the game because they were smarter. They were a lot wiser. They were set up better than we were. Doesn't necessarily mean they played a better game, but they made sure they took advantage of our weaknesses. So in terms of Wilmots's and again with the defensive and attacking football, I think it's all about getting the right balance. I'm not sure we will get the balance with Wilmots, but I think that's the kind of the target that we should be aiming for.
Yeah.
But just to ask another question, sorry, I'm like very interested to know your views on this one. Do you think with the character we've seen from Wilmot, do you think that he would for sure stay in Iran and continues this campaign until we either make it to the World Cup or not? Or do you think he might actually get out of this early?
I think that he wouldn't leave unless he's forced to leave. And I think I think we will qualify for the World Cup. It wouldn't be as easy as it was in 2018. I mean, 2014 wasn't so easy either. 2018 was really easy, and this one wouldn't be as easy as that. I think there will be a lot of nerve-wracking moments, nerve-wracking games, a lot of results that will make us, or a lot of performances that will make us think, are we actually going to go there? Are we actually going to qualify for Qatar? And I think we will. But I think the main decision in regards to Wilmots will have to be made after the World Cup. I mean, if he doesn't qualify, it's an absolute disaster, and I hope he never gets an international job anywhere else again. But I think we will still qualify, and I think the main decision in regards to what you're asking in terms of whether he is going to be here for the long term or not will have to be made after the World Cup. And also, Mina, remember, he's getting good money for the job he does. He's getting really good money. So even when you think of the financial incentives, there's no reason for him to leave, because he will not get another job with a team as good as this in a confederation as, I wouldn't say easy, but as comfortable as this with the money that he's getting paid. And that was the situation with Kairos slightly as well.
I think from money-wise, also contract-wise, I think he has a pretty easy contract. He's not in Iran most of the times. He misses FIFA days and he doesn't care that much about them either. So I think he's having a pretty comfortable life as well. The only reason that I can think of that he might want to leave is that he knows at some point that we're not going to make it and he doesn't want to be in some kind of ditch.
No, I think if he does think we wouldn't qualify, there's no, think of the businessman in you. Why would you leave a job when you know if you get sacked, you'll have a big fat check? If we don't qualify, he will get sacked. So why wouldn't you just wait until he gets sacked and get that
I think
compensation?
I don't know because then he cannot go somewhere else and say, I am the master of that type in football.
Well, I mean, even if he leaves before it kind of gets confirmed that we don't qualify, it would still be on his head that we didn't.
Fair enough.
It's the same thing with Qutbi, for example. If you think about it, who didn't qualify for the World Cup in 2010? Everyone would remember that it was Qutbi, but it wasn't Qutbi. Qutbi was only in charge for the last 2 games. It was Ali Daei. So it's always, I think it will always hang on his head that he wasn't the man that was qualified.
I personally think that I think Wilmots will actually end up leaving before the World Cup. I think he'll get sacked before it. I don't see him staying.
Sacked is different. I wouldn't say no to that, but I don't think he'll walk away.
I think he'll get sacked. I think he'll get sacked before it, because I don't feel like the results will be up to par. And if they are, yes, I think he will be sacked after the World Cup, 100%. I think he'll get sacked within the next 3 years at least. I don't think he'll stay. So yeah, that's my opinion. Anyway, if you want to hear your guys' thoughts on Twitter and social media and Instagram, we have started uploading our podcasts on Spotify. You can find us on Spotify, on iTunes, and on SoundCloud. So you've got a lot of platform to listen to. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and stay tuned. We're gonna me and Pasha and a few others have kind of been thinking about starting a new platform that we'll speak about and we'll show you later on in the months coming up. But for now, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for coming on. Thanks for Mina coming on for our first time. And I hope you guys enjoy listening to this new podcast. Thank you very much.